how do we apply these things to schools? I was in Taiwan maybe a decade and a half ago or thereabouts in a school in Taipei, and encountered a fascinating teaching technique. And I don't know that, in fact, I'm pretty sure it's not generalized nationally, but this one teacher was really, really good at this, and this particularly works well for ADHD kids. And generally in education, it's referred to as peer teaching. The teacher stood up and laid out a principle, wrote it out on the board, and explained it in this 1 hour class. Took about 10 minutes to explain the concept. And then turned to the class and said, now how many of you understand this? And there were about 50 kids in this class. It was a large classroom. And 6 or 7 children raised their hand. And so the teacher then stepped back and said, okay, you teach that now. And so groups formed around those 6 or 7 who were they stood up. Once who'd raised their hands, they stood up. And groups formed around them, and they taught their peers. And what the teacher then did was walked from group to group to make sure that they were actually being taught correctly, that the information was accurate. And when the people who were sitting understood it, they stood and helped the child who was teaching teach, until over the course of the hour, every child in the classroom was standing. It was like learning had just moved across this classroom like a wave. And when you think about it, one of the really important concepts is that our educational system is a vestige of the Industrial Revolution. Our schools are set up as assembly lines. And they're set up for the standard product. And if a child comes along who's not a standard product, they get knocked off the assembly line and dumped into the waste bucket of special education or something like that. And we've developed educational techniques, by and large, that work for farmers that don't work for hunters. Whereas when you use educational techniques, be they storytelling, be they Socratic, interactive with questions, challenging students, whether it be peer-to-peer teaching like I just described in Taiwan, all of these are techniques that are very hunter-friendly and are very farmer-friendly. So the extent to which we can reinvent our educational systems and our school systems in ways that work for all of our children, rather than just that small segment of our children who neurologically would fit in well in the industrial age, is a good thing, is a good and desirable thing. How farmers and hunters can be successful in business. Again, this has to do with things like career counseling kids, or for that matter, working with business people or entrepreneurs. Louise and I, one of the businesses that we owned, that we started actually in 1987, we started in Atlanta, an advertising agency, and we sold it in 1996 and retired from Atlanta and moved to Vermont. And that was the last time we retired before we went back to work. And sales is the essence of running an ad business, as it is the essence of most businesses. And the salespeople that we found were great hunters. I mean, hunter makes a great salesperson. Great hunters are great salespeople, and vice versa. The problem is they don't know how to do follow-through. Most of these were people who had never been diagnosed. They'd never been helped. Many of them didn't do all that well in school, but they were brilliant salespeople. And so they'd go out on the hunt and they would find the client, and it's like, bagging the lion and bringing it back to the lair and saying, okay, I brought back the account, and then they didn't fill out the paperwork. And they didn't do the follow-up. And 2 weeks later, the call didn't, and all the farmer stuff that needs to be done once a sale is made didn't happen, and so we were losing clients as rapidly as we were acquiring them, and that's not a good thing for a business. And so Louise came up with this brilliant idea of, why don't we create pairs? Let's hire a farmer, just a basic entry-level farmer into the business, somebody who doesn't have any experience, who would like to understand the advertising business, who doesn't have any experience in sales or anything, but who basically kind of an intern job, an entry-level job, but look specifically for people who are farmers, who are very detail-oriented, who are very thorough, who would love to make the follow-up calls, who would like to be involved in this, and have that person be the partner with the salesperson. I think one of the reasons that I, as a hunter, have been successful in my life is that 38 years ago I married a farmer, and a brilliant one, and who has, you know, kept me stable, as it were. And I've made her life more interesting, and she's made, and I hope, and she's made my life functional. And I counsel people to look for that, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships. And I'm not saying that a relationship with two hunters won't work, or two farmers won't work, or whatever. But it's just it's something to consider. Again, these are all value neutral things. There's not, hey, it's a great thing being a hunter. There are some real liabilities associated with it. Hey, it's a great thing being a farmer. There are some liabilities there too. There are advantages to both, and there's liabilities to both. We need to put it in a value neutral context.